experts in those areas. So don't be shy. If you guys have any questions, definitely ask them. That's very helpful. And if you do ask any questions, I believe they have a couple of cool stuff that they're giving away. So the more engaged, the more better for you guys. If you guys have any questions for me? No? Michelle? Okay. She's up.
Yeah, and there's granola bars, and I don't know if y'all had anything. We're getting close to dinner, but there's granola bars and stuff back there.
It's going on right now, so some students.
Did you want to go?
Yeah,
And there's
but
stand up here thing.
my flashcard that is on isn't working, so I'll just look for it when they start and then I'll make copies.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it to Michelle, and she will go from there.
Okay,
All right.
so before I begin, I want to tell you, viewers in the screen, if you have not yet completed your pre-survey, please stop the video and do that now. Go. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So for those of you viewers too as well, we are going to be, we moved to a point system. So everything that the new students, this is not new to you. This is, well, it's new to you, but you don't have to adjust it. Our continuing students, we moved to a point system. Everything that was a requirement before has now been given a numerical value. So don't let it scare you. Okay, all right. So real quick, what I want to talk to you about budgeting is, well, first of all, I was supposed to have a budget. So if you viewers would like a copy of the budget, contact one of us and we can get it for you. You students here, I will have that printed out before this session is over and have it available for you if you guys want it. It's just a budget that we created a while back and we have been using it since then. Just kind of let you plan for the semester. So when you students get Pell, you need to plan for the whole semester. So you need to plan for September, October, November, December. You need to take whatever you get from Pell and whatever you get from your income that you're making and divide that by 4, okay? And the reason that I'm saying that is because you need to know how much you need to save to get home. How are you getting home? Are you flying? Are you buying the ticket? Your parents buying the ticket and you have to pay for the cab home? What are your expenses to get home? Keep that in mind, plan now, so that way you're not in the bind when it comes to, oh my God, I gotta move out tomorrow by noon and I have no place to go. Because plan now, so that way you're not in that situation later. The other thing is, don't buy shoes with your Pell. Don't buy shoes with your Pell. Because whether you guys know it or not, your Pell, your financial aid, is not for clothes. It can be if it's needed. If you have like a pair of shoes or 2 that's in good condition, you don't need to be buying a pair any more shoes. No, nothing against you. Nothing against you. Anything, so if you need a computer, yes, you can use that. If you need to buy a computer, you can use your Pell for that. As a matter of fact, you can actually take the receipt for one time in your academic career, take it over to financial aid. They'll adjust your budget, so that way your remaining need will increase to make up for that computer that you need to do your homework. If you have a car and something goes out on your car and you live off campus and that's your sole transportation, you can get an estimate, you get a quote, take it in, have them adjust that budget for you one time. So there's certain things that you can have your budget adjusted to, so that way it will help you in the long run, so you're not just working with your minimum Pell or whatever it is that you're getting. So keep that in mind. When you're budgeting, plan for your hygiene stuff. You know, your shampoo, your body wash, your whatever it is that you need to get you through the day. Detergent, dryer sheets, plan for that. If you have a cell phone bill, or if you use what are those not a smartphone, but those cards.
Straight talk?
Straight Talk, if you have those planned for that too. Okay, I know my Straight Talk cost me $20, I don't know how much it cost me $20 a month, so I know I need to put away this much so I can have my phone. You know, because most of us need our phones, it's a security issue, I feel. I don't go anywhere without my phone, because of safety, so that to me is justifiable. Let's see here, gas if you have a car, plan for how much gas you use a week. If you have your insurance, plan for your insurance. Plan for anything that you need, you're going to be using your PAL for in those 4 months, so that way you're not stepping and buying. And I challenge all of you, viewers too, to save all your receipts from when you eat out. Because if you're an on-campus student, guess what? That's already in your fees. So if you're going out to eat, and you're spending $10 at lunch and $10 at dinner, that's $20 a day. And that adds up. So I challenge you all to save your receipts when you go out to eat. Bring them in, let's calculate them, and we'll open up some eyes here because you can save a lot of money by just eating at Curtis or by, buying stuff to eat in your dorm if you have a microwave or what have you. But I challenge you to open your eyes. Also, one last tip before I turn it over. When you're planning, don't be so hard on yourself. Also, make a little bit of wiggle room so you can go to the movies. So you can even, as I'm saying, going out to eat. You can go out to eat, but don't go out to eat every day. Twice a day, 3 times a day. That's got Curtis. Unless you have your home, you still shouldn't be going out to eat because then you can buy groceries and cook at home. So with that being said, I think that's all I have. If I missed anything, Ron, now's the time to step in, but I'm going to turn it over to Devlin with NerdTrust. And thank you.
Yes. One more thing. I already gave Devlin her gift, but I would like to give you a gift also, but thank you both for coming out to give us about budgeting, so.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey.
So you guys,
Wow.
yeah,
thanks to being invited.
Thanks
Sweet.
for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
This is great.
So without further ado, we're going to give it over to Devlin, and she's going to go ahead and give you all this great information about money and how to save it and not spend it on a bunch of shoes. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name, like you said, my name is Devlin. I'm from NerdTrust Credit Union, and I do all of our financial education. So what that means for me on a daily basis is sitting down with our members one-on-one, and we go through a budget. We might look at debt consolidation if they are trying to figure out how to pay their debt off in a timely manner. If they're wanting to purchase a car, but they don't really know how much they can spend, that's something that we might do with a member. So Ryan also brought stuff on our savings accounts, or our checking accounts. If you don't have that stuff, come see us. I know Yosh is a member with us right down the street at Harper, off Harper. So if you have any questions about that, let us know before you leave today, and we can kind of help you with that too. So just some different things that people are looking for when they're trying to budget. These are the things that they're hoping to resolve. They want to save more money each month. They want to pay off credit card debt, reduce spending, put away more money for retirement, and build an emergency fund. So those are the top 5 things that people are really hoping to gain by being an effective budgeter. So about 40% of U.S. adults say that they have a budget and keep close track of spending. I would say that's pretty accurate, but that's a lot of people who don't do it. That's more people that aren't doing this than that are, and I think that's the biggest thing to take away from that. In 2013, about 2/3 of Americans didn't have a monthly budget. That kind of goes back to a lot of people aren't doing these things, and it's not surprising. Credit Donkey states that education plays a role in budgeting. So if you don't know how to do it, you're probably not going to do it. And it doesn't have to be hard. I think a lot of times people get this conception in their head that budgeting is this tough thing that it's like, well, what do? I don't know how to start. But it doesn't have to be. Okay, so why is budgeting important? It allows you to know your needs and your wants are taken care of before the month starts. So anytime we're talking about a budget with somebody, we're looking at the next month ahead. We're not, it's August 29th. We're not talking about that anymore. If you're gonna be writing a budget, you need to be looking at September, especially we're already at the end of the month, so you should kind of already know September and what that's gonna look like for you, and if not, looking towards October. If you have a job, you should know how many times you're getting paid in September, because if you get paid bi-weekly, so that's every 2 weeks, that's how most of us get paid anymore, then you are gonna have some months, 2 months in particular, that you get that third paycheck. Well, that can be really helpful for people, so you wanna know that kind of stuff. It allows you to set a target amount for savings and possibly investing. Right now, it's probably gonna be more savings. There's a lot to say it reduces stress. If you know where your money is going, or that you don't have enough money, it still might be stressful, but you're gonna be less stressed if you at least know what you're gonna be missing. So if you know you have $600 in bills, but you only have 500, you know the difference you need to make up. Instead of saying, well, I hope I have enough, I hope I have enough, and you go through every day just hoping there's enough. Sure.
So this number 3 right here, this is the main reason why we have this seminar, okay? Because this is probably the number one problem when it comes to financial aid, or financial aid is that stress, okay? So that's why we're having this. So we're trying to help you guys reduce that stress load, because you guys already have a lot of stress just being a college student. If you have anything else that's going on, that's gonna also add. So again, how can we reduce that stress so that you guys are gonna be able to do what you need to do in the classroom? So, thank you.
Sure. So it helps you also identify some possible bad money habits and correct them. So when you go through your budget, kind of like Michelle was saying, it's really smart to save all your receipts from eating out from 1 month. A lot of people don't realize how much money they spend in that area until it's kind of too late and they've already spent it all. So if you're not a receipt person, because I would guess most of us aren't anymore, you can also just pick, on your online banking app, because most of you probably use online banking, pick a time frame. What I tell people to do is pick a week. So go Sunday to Sunday and see how much you spent in that given week, multiply it by 4, and that's probably the average of what you are, as your person is going to spend in a month. Now, if you have a really off week, you're going to know that about yourself too. So if you have a week where, you had a lot of tests or all your schedules fell out, you couldn't eat at the dining center, you know that about yourself. So look at another week and do it. But a week is generally a good enough time frame to say, okay, times that by 4, and that's what I'm spending for a month. Helps you stay out of debt and find extra to pay off debt. So if you realize you're spending too much money in a certain category, you can make adjustments to that and then apply that money elsewhere. Okay, so know your needs versus your wants. You just kept talking about shoes, but wants are fine to have. You just have to keep in mind what your needs are first. So a budget, by definition, is just a plan for how you're going to spend your money. It helps account for everything. When we talk about people's budget, I ask them questions from how much their health insurance costs, to how much they spend at the grocery store, how much their electric bill is, how much they spend on makeup. I ask them every question under the sun so we can really try to figure out the whole picture. It helps you see when your income is low and your expenses are high, and then you can adjust. So really, there's only 2 things you can do after you have your budget, and you can only make 2 changes. You can only increase your income or decrease expenses. So it's not rocket science. Like, there's not all these options out there to make different choices. It helps you know that you won't run out of money at the end of the month. So if you know that you're going to have an extra bill 1 month, it shows you where you can reduce something else. Okay, so hopefully it's going to help you avoid debt as well. Budgets eliminate the need for short-term debt. So short-term debt is going to be something like a credit card. Knowing what you have available to spend and paying down debts makes it happen. Debt gives us the perception that we earn more or spend less than we do. So if people, a lot of people like to say I have an emergency credit card, and that's fine. But a lot of times emergency credit cards, sometimes their emergency is they really wanted to just buy this. And the true emergencies and emergencies for a lot of us tend to differ. Once you've committed to a budget, it's important to reduce or eliminate your use of debt. So one way that we tell people to do that, and you guys are a little bit different if most of you are getting that Pell Grant, is if you've got a chunk of money, then rely on it instead of turning to a credit card. Use that and budget that accordingly instead. Okay, so how do you actually start to budget? Step 1 is you have to analyze your income. You have to look at all the money you have coming in. Do most of you have part-time jobs as well? Or not very many? Okay, so a few of you. So if you don't, then you should know what you have for the semester, right? If you do, kind of project what you think you're going to make in your job this semester. So you need to know these three things though. How much money is coming in each month? When is that money coming in? And where is it coming from? So those are three important things to know when you're going to start budgeting. The next thing you can do is analyze the expenses. You need to know these three things. How much money is being spent each month? When is that money being spent? And where is it going? So a lot of people, these seem super simple, but a lot of people can't answer these questions. If you don't know where all your money's going, you need to figure that out first and foremost. Okay, step 3 is to calculate your cash flow. So you're going to take your expenses, your savings, and the charity money that you might spend. So a lot of times charity would be considered something like giving to a charity, like you might think, or some people donating to their church, that's important to them, or any money that you give away monthly that's going to a cause that would be considered charity. So you're going to take your income and you're going to subtract your expenses, savings, and charity, and then you're going to get your monthly cash flow. So after your income, you're either going to be negative or positive. There's only two things. You can break even as well, but I would still consider breaking even a positive. So there's not a lot you can do after that. It's pretty simple. Then you just have to make changes. So if you're negative, you either need to increase your income or decrease your expenses. So you have to go back to your monthly expenses because you've gotten them all listed out, right? And I don't care if you write this on a sticky note, if you write it in an Excel document, if you use Michelle's print-off that she's going to give to you. Any of those forms is fine. It doesn't have to be complicated. I tell people every day that I meet with, if you have a form that works for you, use the one you're already using. If you have a certain system you like, if it's pen and paper, keep using it. If it's a computer, keep using it. If it's your phone, keep using it. So go back to your monthly expenses and prioritize your expenses, most important to least important. Find your discretionary spending and start cutting. Discretionary spending would be like extra food or maybe gasoline, depending on how much you're driving. If you go to Kansas City all the time, that might be discretionary. Anything that is like minus an electric bill, minus your rent, minus the bare necessities, which we're going to get to in a minute, was where you would want to start cutting. And then find ways to increase your income, side jobs, selling some of your things. So those of you who don't have a part-time job and you might need a little extra money for something, look for different ways you can get involved in the community and maybe do something one day a week somewhere. Even if it's not one day a week, every week, there might be some ways you can make money. If it's babysitting, if it's mowing some grass for somebody, there might be those things out there still that you could do. Uber, if that's your thing, who knows? Okay, so this is probably the hardest part of all of this. Is all of this seems really simple, and it is. It truly is. But the hardest part of budgeting is going to be when you have to make the actual behavior change. And we can understand budgeting all day long, but if you're not willing to change your behavior, that's where it's going to keep catching you up. So if you can't commit to eating fast food once a week, even if it's one meal. So when I tell people, I like to talk about smoking cigarettes because it's one that I think a lot of people can at least wrap their head around. Even if you don't smoke cigarettes, you can at least understand it a little bit. If you tell somebody who smokes a pack a day of cigarettes, who they have done that their entire adult life, to quit smoking cigarettes because it costs too much money, they're probably going to give you the middle finger and walk away because that's not realistic for them and it's not practical for them. So what we would encourage you to do, so you take whatever thing that is for you. If it's not smoking cigarettes, it's something else. We generally all have a thing. And cut back a little. If it's Starbucks at coffee and you get it, if it's Starbucks and you get it 5 days a week, cut it back to 4. Start small when you're doing this stuff. So somebody who smokes a pack a day, I would say, can you take 2 cigarettes out of that pack? I think there's 20 cigarettes in a pack of cigarettes. Take 2 cigarettes out of that pack every day, and by the end of the week, you'll have a full pack of cigarettes extra. And so doing something small like that with any of these things that might be your thing can really start to help you make these changes. Because really, like I said, if I tell somebody to do something cold turkey or dramatic, it's not going to work for them because it just doesn't release anything in our brain like, okay, I can do this, because it seems harder than it is. So really that change factor is the hardest part to any of this stuff. Okay. Then the next thing to do would be write it down and communicate. A budget should always be written. So like I said, if that's on a sticky note, great. If it's on the back of a piece of mail that you get, great. If it is an Excel spreadsheet, that's great too. If it's on your computer and just on a notepad on your computer, that's fine. Whatever works for you. But having it written is going to create a sense of urgency. You know that you can go back to it if it's there. It allows you to track your progress. So one thing that I really like too is, because I feel like I'm forgetful all the time lately, is I can look at 2 months prior. If I have my whole month written out, I'm like, gosh, something just seems to be missing. I can look at the one from June and be like, oh yeah, I didn't write my car insurance down. So it's good to check back on, even if the amounts might be a little different, I can be like, oh, I just forgot to add this one to this month. So that's what writing it down can do. And then it just creates a visual of the goals that you have. So maybe you really do want to buy something fancy with the Pell Grant money. So maybe you set yourself up to, if I can save this much of it, by the end of the semester, I can buy whatever I want. So it might give you your own incentive to stick to the budget you set for yourself. And then the next thing is going to be to find accountability. Whether that's a spouse, a friend, a trusted advisor, I guarantee you any of the staff people here would be willing to talk it over with you. But one thing that this part of it does is it gives somebody to help hold you accountable. If it's, if it's somebody, if it's your friend, any of those things, you can at least check in with that person and they can be like, how'd you do this week on not getting that coffee on Friday? Or whatever it is. And just checking in with somebody really does help with this sort of thing. It might not seem like it helps, and a lot of times money can be a taboo topic that people just don't want to talk about. I often still, even now, hear parents like, okay, they won't, like, they'll be meeting with me in the office and they'll send their kids out into our lobby, but then the kid might come back in the office and they'll stop talking because they don't want their kid to hear anything about their money. Well, money really should be this open topic if you can get it to that point. You shouldn't feel bad about one thing or another with your money situation, because when you talk to other people about it, it's going to help you learn and grow and get better at doing this kind of thing. Okay, so this is an example of a budget that this one is done on a computer, but you could write all this stuff out the exact same and use a calculator. Basically, you put your balance at the top so you know what's in there, and then all of their bills are there and we know what's going to be left. And then they just keep going. So this person's doing it week to week. And this works for people. It really does. And this is one of the most simple ways that you can do it. This one, so this person they looked at their month. And maybe this is easier for you, especially those of you who don't have jobs and you're just planning out the next 4 months. This would be a good thing to do. You know the exact amount how you're going to have, and you're going to know the exact amount of things you have to pay for. So this person has all of their payments listed out, and then they know they have $700 left for the month for anything discretionary, food, gas, any bills that are not set in stone. So this could be a good method for you. Either one of those two options is just fine. Okay, so I know that Michelle briefly touched on that Pell Grant, but one thing to remember is know what you need to survive on each month. So write your budget before you even decide where the Pell Grant money is going to go. So if you write your budget and you say, okay, I have $600 in expenses each month, and let's say you do have a part-time job, you get $300 from your job, so you have a missing $300 gap. Then you know what you need to pull from your Pell Grant each of those months to live, to just live, not the extras, any of that. Then you can go back through and say, these are the extras I want to spend this month. Maybe I have enough in my budget here. I have $2,000 left now after I've paid what I know I'm going to need to pay. And then I'm going to give myself $100 to do whatever I want to do that month. And doing it that way can be really helpful. If you don't have a job, you just need to still go through, list out all your expenses that you're going to have each month, and then figure out how much you can, if you have enough. And it will tell you now on August 29th, if you have enough to make it through December. You should be able to know that now. And if you're not going to have enough, it will tell you that now, and you can start planning for what to do. So once you've done that, you decide you're going to need to pull $300 from your Pell Grant each month. Hopefully you have that Pell Grant money in a savings account. You can set up an automatic transfer to pay yourself each of those months to put into your checking account to then spend and live on that month. Okay, so the preferred method that we like for budgeting is just one big pile of cash in a checking account, and then maybe a few sub-accounts. So if you know that you're going to need this or that, you can put the money aside monthly so that when it comes around to pay it, you have it. So the best example I use with this one is car tags. A lot of us don't have, if you drive a newer vehicle, you're not going to have $600 to $700 just in any given month to pay your car tax. So what this can do is if you budget that out for how much you need 12 months out of the year. If you know you're only getting money 9 months out of the year, then do the 9 months. And then put it in your monthly budget. So if you know you need $60 each of those months, then you have a separate account to put that money in. Okay, when your budget gets tight, these are the things that this is how we kind of classify the what's most important. And this might seem really simple, but I have seen a lot of people that I meet with who continue to pay their cable bill, but they haven't paid their rent yet. Well, it doesn't do you very much good to make sure you have your TV if you don't have anywhere to watch TV. But people do this stuff all the time, and it's really surprising. It seems simple, but people, they start getting calls or this or that, and so they just panic and they pay stuff. So really going into this determined and knowing what it's going to be is the best thing. So the top tier is shelter, obviously has to be the first thing you have, right? Food, transportation. So for a lot of us, especially Lawrence, not so much, but it's still probably difficult, and you need transportation. And so if that means you have a car loan, that's okay. We would put it up in the importance, because if you need it to get to work or school, then it is important. Kids are going to be on that list, utilities, and then medicine is what we classify on those top tiers. After that, it's going to be home maintenance, which probably a lot of you don't have. Any debt, so credit card debt, household items, beauty items, charity, and savings. I've also had many people, because sometimes giving to their church is very important to them, and that might be really important to you, but you have to be able to prioritize. And I've had people say, I finally talked to my pastor or whoever it is about this, and he said to me, well, I would really rather you pay your rent than keep paying the church all this money that you're paying, because people really feel committed to that, and that's fine, but you have to prioritize this stuff, and then hopefully you can make up for it later if it's important to you. And then the bottom tier is going to be entertainment, miscellaneous expenses, and then any extras, of course. Okay, so the biggest thing with budgeting is avoiding burnout and overcomplication. Like I've said, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as writing it on a piece of paper or a sticky note. Whatever system works for you and your family is the one I want you to use. Set a time that works for you and your family to discuss budgeting issues. So if you're kind of by yourself, you're not discussing this with a family, that's okay. Set up a time to discuss that with whoever you're going to use as your accountability person. Make a time once a month to be like, hey, this is where things are at for me. And if once a month is too much, that's okay. You can do it once every 2 months. And then use your phone as an alarm to keep that appointment. And then don't get frustrated if you fail at first. Like I said, going back to that person who smokes, there's probably going to be a week where they don't save those 2 cigarettes every day because they had a tough week. That's life, and that's going to happen to all of us, and it's okay to remember that. You might have a week where you really needed that extra coffee, or whatever it was. So it's okay if you have some of these weeks that don't go as you planned. Just keep doing it, and eventually you will start to get better, and the changes that you put in yourself will happen. Okay, so be thinking right now, if you had to, on a scale of 1 to 10, give yourself a grade, 10 being the best, of a budgeting. What could you do this year to improve your financial comfort just 1 point? So if you see yourself like as a 6, what's one thing you could do to move yourself to a 7? So be thinking about that. Write down the goals you have for this semester, the 2018 semester, and then make them small and easily achieved. I can't stress that enough. Don't set these drastic goals for yourself. Pick something small and really try to work at that. And then once you get there, be really excited about it. And then move on to your next goal. Okay, so any resources, you have all of these folks here. If you ever just have a question, you can always send me an email, and I can give you that if you want it. Then if you are a Ameritrust member, or you have online banking through your bank or credit union, use their online banking tools, because they have them. Almost every place now has them. And they can be super helpful to you. If you like apps, Mint.com has a good app. Dave Ramsey has a couple apps, and you can just type in budgeting in your app store, and a couple are going to come up, and those can be really helpful to you.
What is EAT?
That's generally through employers that they have counseling services that they provide for their employees. So I wouldn't probably worry about that one so much for you all. But I'm sure you have something through your school. I would guess Haskell has some type of counseling services that you could use. Maybe not financial counseling, but the reason we add that on here is because a lot of times financial issues create other issues in your life, and so we just want people to be aware that other counseling services and reaching out to them too can sometimes help with the rest of this. Okay, any questions?
Okay, so somebody give me the difference between, what's a want? Somebody give me a want. What can be considered a want? Anybody?
Shoes. Like makeup and stuff.
Yeah, makeup. You're gonna get one of these. Tim can wear one of those.
Yeah, if you throw it
Okay.
like crack.
What else? Who else? Wants.
Shoes,
What?
shoes.
Shoes? Okay. That was you, but that's okay. What? Oh.
Probably purple or black.
So our guest speaker's favorite color is it black?
Purple or black.
Purple or black? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So what would be a what do we say? Need and must? Or is that right?
Want.
Okay. So need. What is a need? What would be considered a need?
Money.
Phone bill. What else?
Money.
Money would be yeah. That would be a need. That would definitely a need.
Here's a really good thing to think about on phone bills though, because it kind of applies to most of, none of you look super old, and probably most of you don't have flip phones, I would guess. So one thing to think about on a phone bill is, do you need to have the highest status package? Is it smarter if you're the only person on your plan to go with something like Straight Talk or like Boost Mobile? Because a lot of those times, those are cheaper for you than having, every time I sit down with somebody, and they tell me, okay, my phone bill's 110, and I always ask, how many lines is that? And if they tell me one, I'm like, you might consider finding it somewhere else. Or if they tell me it's $300, and they're like, oh, it covers 2 lines, and I'm like, okay, might be a good thing to look into. So if you're just covering yourself, those options can be really good. So just keep in mind how much the phone bill is. It might be a necessity, but all the extras that people like to add to their phone bills, or adding tablets to their phone plans, and all of those things add up quick.
Okay, and then we do have a student who actually went and followed through this, Kayla. And so one of the goals that she had, was it 2 semesters ago, that she wanted to go to Gathering of Nations, okay? And so she actually looked at her budget, she looked at what scholarships she was getting, she was looking at how much it's gonna cost for her. And that was a goal. And you did get to go, right? Yes, I hope you did, because I'm telling everybody. But she did get to do that, and she looked at her budget. And so again, this is very helpful for you guys. It's just like going to class. With those grade checks, again, we're trying to help alleviate that stress, right? So how do we do that? Well, we're gonna have to do that by looking at what we're doing, being mindful, and how can we avoid tripping ourselves up? Again, what she was talking with that phone bill. Yeah, I need my phone, but do I really need to add on this ringtone? Do I need ESPN 24-hour? So all these different things, again, they add up. So looking at that and being mindful is very important. Okay, and so then was he gonna talk a little bit? Were you gonna talk a little bit?
Only if you wanted to talk about our checking account, he can.
Okay.
But if not, then no worries. If people just want to grab a brochure or ask us questions
Okay.
on their way out,
So
it doesn't have to be for
does
everyone.
anybody have any questions? Because we have people here that are very knowledgeable. It's credit cards. You have questions about any kind of money financially.
I will say this. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, ironically, I felt like I had more cash that was just free to do whatever I wanted to when I was in college than I do now.
Yeah.
And I make a lot more money than I did when I was in college, but there's just more expenses. So it's good to figure it out early.
I just want to know where can I bank? Like, I have a bank back at home locally, but
I don't want to be biased, but Ameritrust. I like Ameritrust. When they talked about the online banking, they do have a online thing where it tells you your balance, tells you all the information that you need. If you're looking at savings, they do have a savings plan where you can actually put in, and then it helps you to be accountable, so that you can only get it like, is it June or something? 1 month out of the
June or
year.
November, yeah.
Yeah. So they're right over here at Harper, so it's like just down the road. If you guys are interested, Ron, do you have anything about the importance of budgeting and anything that they need to know about financial literacy? And if you guys are juniors or seniors, we do have some freshmen. transfer sophomores, if you guys have something that you think is gonna be important as a college student that other students need to know about, you guys are more than welcome to jump in right now. Ron, do you have anything?
I would just say, like, if you are a part of clubs or organizations that might be taking trips later on, you know, you might want to keep that in mind for budgeting. I think one of the biggest things is having a set amount for some emergency in case you have to run home for whatever reason, or you know, something that comes up unexpectedly. Maybe you get a blowout on your tire or something like that, and you need a new tire before you can leave or something. So, you know, those things are really important to think about.
Anybody? Yes.
I think the student bank helps a lot too, because they only let you draw like so much.
Yeah, so if you need somebody to help you be accountable, the bank's gonna be great because they don't have cards and you actually have to go in and actually go and check that out, and they're not open on weekends, so, yes.
Yeah, they only let you check out $200 a day, and why would you need more?
Yeah.
And then they're only open Monday through Friday, they close at 4. It's really good budgeting guys.
So anything else? Again, making sure that you guys are aware of these things, you're trying to be accountable. It helps you, again, in the classroom if you know your money, if you are stressed out and it's due to money, it's because we're not budgeting. So planning ahead definitely is always helpful. I think that's it. I'm gonna give you guys some announcements real quick. Tomorrow we have how to apply to a four-year program and Haskell 101 at 5 to 6. So if you're sophomore, freshman, or if you guys just want to attend that, you're welcome to. So those are going to be basic tips on what you need to know as a student. And then also if you have not applied to the four-year program and you're within that 6 semesters, you guys need to start looking at that because once you hit that 6th semester and you haven't, if you're not in a program, you will not be able to come back. Okay, so you want to make sure you're thinking about that now. So we do have a seminar tomorrow specifically for that. Am I missing anything else? What's that? Ad drop. Okay, ad drop is going to be on Friday. So